We really need to quit blaming age and perimenopause for what is actually HPA dysfunction. Hi, my name is Paige Elizabeth. I'm a wellness and mindset coach, and I've burnt out twice, so I know a lot about the topic. And here's the thing. HPA dysregulation or dysfunction is really at the core of what we are experiencing. Unfortunately, it used to be over 45, now it's over 35, and I keep seeing videos of people younger and younger now kind of subject to this issue. Mainstream medicine has been blaming it's just perimenopause. Look, we are designed to age and go through the transition without symptom. The HPA axis, which stands for hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, is essentially this axis that communicates and signals, oh, we have stress, let's respond. Okay, let's calm down, stress over, stress aborted, move on with our life. And as we get older, just like the immune system after a lifetime of having to filter, threats in terms of like viruses and bacteria and stuff, it doesn't modulate as well. And we end up with autoimmune issues because the body's like, oh, well, I don't know what's actually the problem, so let me go on and attack everything. That becomes an issue with HPA dysfunction as well. So to be clear, if you have a dysregulation, that's kind of a temporary offset. Dysfunction is when the issue becomes chronic, right? And this does happen with age because, again, we've had a lifetime of stressors coming at us. And the body's brakes just essentially don't work as well if we're not recalibrating and kind of clearing out the psychosomatic or the trauma baggage. If we're not learning how to respond to life differently, then it just becomes this like hyperreactive thing. Even if in real time you didn't react that badly, if your body is used to reacting, it can still cause this like just this dysregulation or this dysfunction over time. And like the biggest thing that happens is when we have a dysregulated HPA axis is we tend to get stuck in what's called sympathetic dominance. So when the HPA goes, okay, threat aborted, it's supposed to kind of move us back into a parasympathetic flow. But this doesn't happen when things become chronic, right? So it's like, again, the immune system, it's like, oh, you're eating a tomato. Oh, you're eating an apple. Oh, you're eating a piece of bread. Like all of a sudden it reacts to everything because at one point it perceived things coming into the system as a threat. The same with stress responses. So now it's like it can't modulate real threat versus perceived threat. It tends to get stuck, right, in this place. It like reacts, and instead of coming back down, it just gets stuck there, right? And so it becomes less resilient and less flexible. And the way that I'm learning TBM these days, and the way that the kind of the facilitator explained it to me is he said, it's kind of like when you end up in sympathetic dominance, it's kind of like having your foot on the gas and the brake simultaneously. It's like your body's like, go, but your body's also like, no. And it's just this really like uncomfortable place to live because it's like you're trying to move forward and you're trying to get things done and you have this like push inside of you, but simultaneously there's like this anxiety, foggy thinking, you're wired but tired, so sympathetic dominance really becomes what is the pool from which these other issues brew, right? So then we have, again, the anxiety, the depression, the foggy thinking. We can't sleep as well. Our energy's not as good. Or it ends up worse, right? So like the hypothalamus, which regulates temperature, it's like now you're like, why do I have night sweats, right? So it does the same thing. It can't create the buffer that it once needed because it's dysfunctioning, right? So it's not that like hormones don't drop before your period when you're 20. They do. But the hypothalamus goes, oh, we got a buffer for that. But with age and stress, the buffer, it's not as resilient. It's like, oh my God, estrogen dropped right before your period. And it's like, boom, all of a sudden you're like, why did I wake up clammy? What was that about? It's because the hypothalamus is now struggling to get the right signaling, to do the right thing, to create that buffer so that way you do not feel the shift in your hormones. Because it's not purely a hormonal issue that creates the changes as we get older. It's the fact that as the body moves through these changes, the signal for which to deal with them is now not recalibrating. So it's kind of like saying, and this is why HRT is helpful but doesn't always work, because if you're putting more gasoline into a car where the engine is just now not functioning, it's stupid, right? And this is why HRT doesn't always have the effect that women want, because you're putting more hormone into the body, but if the body can't read the signals properly, it's not going to matter, right? You might get some relief, but not full relief, because the HPA is the baseline for the dysfunction. The HPA axis says, okay, progesterone is dropping, or estrogen's rising, right? And let's accommodate for that. It's like, oh my God, system shift, right? And it reacts. And so when it comes to dealing with these symptoms, right? Like my job isn't so much to deal with stress, although it might start to become this because of how bad it's getting in society. My job is really to help women deal with the restructuring and the healing of their nervous system so as to move through their 40s and 50s with ease, right? Like now, what was once just a mental issue has now bled into the physiology of our body, because the HPA just cannot buffer anymore. But it's getting really bad out there, and unfortunately I'm starting to see a lot of footage of people sharing how they're not regulating. I think COVID did a lot of damage to people in terms of long-term trauma that just the HPA did not recalibrate from. The vagus nerve got stuck on a loop with that trauma, and now the body, it's trying to manage too much. And this is what happens with age. Again, if we don't unpack things and move it out of the system and recalibrate and get those tune-ups as we go, then we hit 35, 40, 45, and the system is just on burnout mode. And this is why when women do hit perimenopause, it just exasperates everything, or menopause, like things get exasperated. It's not because the transition itself guarantees all these symptoms, it's because your baseline for moving through them, the tools aren't there. The body it's like, look, we gave up a while ago. We've been managing too much for too long. And this is something that needs to be addressed. And if you're looking to recalibrate, the good news is you can heal your HPA axis. You can totally heal the adrenal. You can heal your nervous system. But it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen with some breathing exercises. The majority of what got you here is a lifetime of perpetual habits, right? So this is why a lot of times you can add, again, like HRT or even just good nutrition to the system, but if your baseline for how you're showing up and functioning and reacting is not cleared and recalibrated, then it just keeps defaulting, right? For example, if you're living in a state of perpetual self-abandonment, self-betrayal, the body can only manage so much of that before it's like, look, you just don't care. You just don't care, and we're trying to help you with homeostasis. We're trying to help you find that baseline, but this garbage needed to be taken out a long time ago, and now we can't compensate for the smell anymore. So anyway, the good news is there's a solution to recalibrating your nervous system, to healing the HPA dysfunction. The bad news is it's going to take more than, a couple of days or weeks to get there. Again, my name is Paige Elizabeth. I am a mindset and wellness coach. This is what I do. I'm super passionate about helping women heal because I like to feel good in my body. So if you're interested in more information, please reach out. I would love to help you. You're not lost, you're not aging, and you're not screwed just because you're going through perimenopause. We can absolutely help address the issue so that you can wake up with ease, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, and get back to the person that you obviously once knew. So